Hello, my friends, and welcome to our 88th time of sharing together. Isn't that quite amazing? We are heading in on session number 100 of an idea that was never our intention, but in that world of pivoting after COVID has been a deep, deep blessing to us for sure at Sanctuary, and hopefully for the many folks we've met along the way and intermingled our paths. So we have been on a journey here. I'm going to share my screen and give you some of the little details. We've been on quite a bit of a journey during our Lenten season. And I think most folks have been on before, everyone tonight. So you know about enabling your video if you can, so we can see each other and chat, gallery view, and again, your email if we don't have it in the chat box. Beyond that, communicating, we always like to let you know how we can communicate with you. A text feature, if you'd like to remember that it's Tuesday. If you put your cell phone number in the chat box, Barb will send you a polite little reminder on Tuesday afternoon that Sanctuary Online is either coming tonight, or in the case of next week, maybe it's not coming. So anyway, also our Facebook page where you can find links to everything going on at Sanctuary. And our community email is called talktous@sanctuaryinthewoods.com. We had a little tiny bit of a change to our schedule for all good reasons. So we've been on this journey during Lent of talking about saints, and we are grabbing this from CLM's Saints Are People the Light Shines Through story during our session it's actually called Friends of God and Prophets. And we have used the poem throughout and used another poem by Frederick Buechner and just given you some good homework that some of you have taken quite seriously. We're going to hear some about that tonight. But tonight is about sharing our saints. A couple weeks ago, Cheryl shared her saint. Last week, Ken shared his saint. And tonight is all of you, all of us really sharing stories of saints. And we had planned initially for next week to be our virtual Seder meal until we realized that next week is not during Passover. And that would be just wrong on many levels. So we have switched the 12th and the 19th, you can see on the schedule. Next week, we're going to take kind of our Easter break here. So next week, there'll be no sanctuary programming. But the next week, April 19th, really want to encourage you, and especially to let us know, maybe if you already know you're coming, you can put that in the chat box, because we want to send you out our Sanctuary Haggadah, which is really the storybook that we follow along, the script all night long. And also a little bit of information how you can get as adventurous as you want of making the Seder meal or substituting or just knowing what's coming. But we'd like to send you all that stuff in advance so that during the evening of Seder itself, you can actually follow along. We may even ask a few of you to be readers. We're going to still figure all that out. But that's going to be now on April 19th, 2 weeks from tonight. Deal? Yes. Question, Cheryl? You're on mute, hon. Was there a question?
Yes, there's a question in the chat about what is a Seder?
Well. And yes, Barb, same Haggadah as last year. A Seder it's the holy meal that we often, this is interesting, but as Christians, if you remember the Last Supper, right, where Christ, the stories goes that he had dinner with his apostles, and depending on how you read that, there were friends or women, there were children there, but as he was facing walking to his death, which we now understand that story as walking through Good Friday and into Easter morning, they shared a meal together. And actually in Jewish custom, that is called the Seder meal. And so we actually have taken a combination that tried to be very honoring to the Jewish faith of the story. And our Haggadah we wrote here at Sanctuary, and we dedicated that and had it read by Nancy Wilson's partner. Help me out here, somebody. Barb? Paula Schoenweather, who is Jewish, and she took a look at it and really appreciated the dedication, because we at Sanctuary, obviously at an MCC, we don't want to, although we follow one path, we want to honor all paths of people on their spiritual journey. So it's a wonderful evening. If you've never been a part of a Seder dinner, I really encourage you to come. If you have never been a part of a virtual Seder dinner, then I extra encourage you to come. I promise you, you will be blessed by the evening.
Just the Seder is a blend of food and stories, and is more of a ritual that reminds those who are either of the Jewish faith or who want to walk that journey with their Jewish friends. What are some, there are reminders of particular important events in the Jewish experience.
Story. Yeah, absolutely.
That are woven
when they were
throughout.
leaving Egypt in particular.
Yeah.
And how different pieces of the meal simulate different parts of that story. And so it's a significant script that, again, we will send to you. If you were part of our Sanctuary Seder virtually before in the last couple of years, we will be using the same Haggadah, so you're all set. Just let us know in the chat if you'd like to come and the email address you'd like us to send that to. Okay, just letting you know, next every month we do a book club. Last month we needed some light reading, so we read Bossy Pants by Tina Fey, or listened to Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. But next month on April 26th is Project Hail Mary, a very different book than Tina Fey's, and I think you'll enjoy it. So that's teed up, and I love just always to call attention to how many books our book club has read, and they have no intention of stopping. They're amazing. Again, just want to give a shout out and thanks to Cheryl. A couple weeks ago, you actually went and visited Chaplain Pruitt and Martha, his wife Martha, and had a wonderful visitation there with your saint. And then Ken told us last week about Dr. W. Norman Pittenger. Again, just amazing stories about how he has shaped and really blessed the life of Ken and Tom. On that note, I want to share that Ken is not with us tonight. He's got just a health issue. He's fine. I don't want to say anything crazy, but he'd needed a good night of sleep. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
Okay.
Kristen also wanted me to let you all know she is in Mexico this week on a retreat, so not jumping on. And also Kevin, who would love to be here, but he has just contracted COVID and is accepting all prayers.
Oh,
Okay, so yep, he's doing fine. He's had one rough night, but as you all know, all of us can use prayers for health and care. Yes. Now, want to show you. I want to show you this gang. Look at this motley crew. Ellen Hurst came on Saturday and took photographs, amazing photographs of all the people who were wonderful and joined us to spruce up Sanctuary a little bit for our Easter. As many of you know, we've had large Easters of 60 and 75 people. This coming Easter, we're having about 30 people, so a little smaller, a little safer, lots of outside fixins. And since Sanctuary has been in a little bit of let's just say some disrepair and needing some maintenance, we called on some friends. We had a blast. We laughed, we hugged, we fed them. But just look at that picture. Everyone, even Gracie, is smiling. Gracie's right there. And so just to show you a little bit around Sanctuary, Cheryl was in charge of the goat pit, and there's loads and loads of wood back there from some storms we had. And Jan and Mary Beth brought their chainsaws. I'm just going to say that one more time. Lesbians with chainsaws. It was wondrous. And they just those things were sawing off wood all day long. And we've got clearly enough wood now for all of next winter. This is Edie and Blake. They were tasked with taking some, cleaning up the boxwoods and taking some Christmas lights off that have been up on the pagoda for way too long. Our painting crew, we actually painted this massive wall. This is Bill painting the back of the big house. And then we had a smaller crew of Mary, Denise, Janice, thank you, hon. Janice, on your little red flyer wagon here. I loved you. Janice brought more tools than you could think a woman would ever have. And she schlepped them all. We used every one of them, but we're actually painting the entire skirt of the house. In a minute, you'll see a photograph from further away where you can see the progress that they've made. Some friends of ours. This is Amigo, and this is Leap Year, and this is one of the boys. We don't really name the boys. They're not that friendly. So this is some goaty goats and some horses because we are Sanctuary, right? And then Ken here cooking up some grilled chicken. Once again, women, chainsaws. Sorry, that picture had to get in. Some of the raised beds of the gardens. We had folks planting in the gardens and cleaning up the gardens. And if you can see this picture here, you can see how far they got painting the skirting around Mama's little house. This is a picture from the pool area. There's Edie, although she almost cut off her finger, she was raking. And here's Governor and Molly doing nothing helpful, just being Governor and Molly.
And just to be clear, Edie's injury was not related to cleanup day.
Pardon? Oh yeah, Edie's injury was not part of cleanup day. Thank you, Barb. So I'm just wondering, I know Dr. Aaron, you've sent us in a picture and have a story. Jane Ann, you've got the picture and a video and a story. Anybody else has a kickoff, just a story of their saint? Or how about if we jump in? Dr. Aaron, why don't you go ahead and start us off? I'm going to go ahead and share screen again and show the picture you sent us in of Brendan Bouchard. Maybe you can tell that story, how he has impacted your life.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So Brendan Bouchard, if you're not familiar with him, he's the world's #1 coach. He's Oprah Winfrey's coach, and I'm a high performance coach like him. And I followed him for many years before the pandemic. And I told everyone I knew I was going to meet him. I was going to meet him. I was going to meet him. And everyone was like, have you met him yet? Have you met him yet? And then I realized there was no meeting him at these conferences. There was not going to be that. But then at the end, he said, if you want to come to this networking event that night, you could come. And most people were going because they had purchased this $25,000 coaching program with him, but I wasn't in that. But I could go to the networking event for $1,000. And everything in my body just said, of course you're going. And you're going because you're going to get a picture with him. So which just seems, I needed to be the kind of woman that would show up for myself and dream big and do that. And so he entered the networking gala, and I was the only one that had paid. And people were like, you paid to get a picture with Brendan? I go, absolutely. So he walks in and I said, here I go. And I was ready to ask him my question. And all these people that were in his $25,000 program followed me like little ducks in a line. And I went up to Brendan and I said, Brendan, your work has completely impacted my life. Thank you for what you do. And you've shared so many of your challenges that you've gone through on stage with us today. But I'm wondering if you would share any of your failures with us. And he said, Dr. Aaron, he said my name, I'll never forget it. He's like, Dr. Aaron, it's great to meet you. And I would say there is no failing when there is learning. And I'll never forget it. And I went up to the bar and I got a Coca-Cola and I told the bartender, this is $1,000 Coca-Cola. And he said, I hope it's worth it. And I said, it's worth every little penny. So I met my mentor in real life and he was fantastic.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. I followed Brendan Bouchard for many years and only you for a couple of years, Aaron, because I just met you. So thank you for being part of our community and for sharing. I gotta just lift up Bud and Dell. You are two saints. My goodness, to us, Bud, when we got here this weekend, many of you maybe have came on to the SanctuaryOnline show during Earth Day last year, right, Bud? And you helped us with loads of things around planting, and you've been such a go-to guy for us. And this weekend, when we had so many people trying to help, just again, thank you, gentlemen, for your help and for your expertise in the areas of caring for a beautiful property like the one that you two inhabit on Pitty Pat Lane, right? Anybody else with a saint story? Tonight's about sharing. Well, were you talking out loud? So that meant you have one? You guys are on mute again. Oh, someone at the door. Anybody else about the saint story? Jenny, and I can jump onto you if you like. And I'm gonna work with
Sure.
I've got both a photograph and then I'm gonna go to a video, okay, for yours. But why don't you jump in and tell us your story?
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead. You let me know when you want me to. What I've done is I've taken the text that you got and cropped it into a photograph. So why don't you tell the story first, or have me
Okay.
show the video first, and let me know what you'd like me to do.
Let me do an intro and then I'll get you to do the video. I was really moved by Cheryl's seeking out her saint. And so that night after we got off the call, I put a text message out to the former secretary or assistant of the person that is my saint. And Dr. White, I met in 1974 when I was a residence director in a Bible college in Toronto. And she's really the person who put the call on my life to be a therapist. And she told me that they weren't hiring women in theology at the time, and it would be useless for me to get a theology, stay for a 4-year or 5-year theology degree, that I should really parlay into counseling. And so she said that she had just come from the mission field with the Africa Inland Mission, and a parasite had eaten one of her eyes, and she was going blind, and she was being recruited by a private Christian school in the Chicago area. And she knew that she was going to need an assistant to help her read, help her research, mark papers, read people's writing that she couldn't read. And so she would make sure that I got a scholarship if I went and got some psychology courses, and to let her know when I was ready. So interestingly enough, Facebook popped up a memory on March 12th saying it had been 45 years since I landed in Chicago and moved there. Cheryl does her spiel on March 15th of her saint. And that night I wrote to Ruth, her Dr. Fran White's assistant. And I said, I'm going to be in Chicago for an 80th birthday party of another colleague of mine. And if you're well, I would like to visit you and Dr. Fran, or at least have a chat on Monday of the 28th of March in the afternoon at your residence. Please let me know. And she actually called me and said that Dr. White had been ill for about 3 weeks. She had thrown up constantly. She was not speaking. She wasn't recognizing anyone, and that they probably would not let me see her. So after I was at the party, to make a long story short, the party for my friend was on Saturday, and on Sunday I called the administration of the home and explained that I was her first teaching assistant from 1977, and could I see her? And they said, yes, by all means, you can come. You may not like what you see, but you can come. So I went, and Joe, do you want to play the video?
Yes, let me play the video. That's why I was just trying to tee this up here.
So just before, they escorted me up to where she is on the memory care floor, because she has Parkinson's and dementia, and she doesn't recognize anyone. And she was sitting with her head down and her arms crossed. And I went up and did what I always did with my mother, who had dementia, took her by her hands and spoke into her ear. And this is the video I took for those first few minutes.
You know what, I have to unshare and make sure you can do sound, Jane Ann, sorry.
Okay, I don't know what. So
Very good. I'm
what
good.
happened was she came alive like an animated puppet, and
Okay. Hold on, it can't.
so in her ear,
Yes, I'm going to take a little video because I'm so excited.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
I'd
so
like
I
to-
want to be able to show Josette tomorrow
Oh, terrific.
when I'm with her.
Is Josette here?
She's, but you know what? We might come back. I know that you're okay now, so I might come back and bring her tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, good.
Wouldn't
love
that be
to see
fun?
her, yeah.
She just turned 80.
80.
And how old? I know. I never thought that she was that much older than me.
Oh,
So
silly.
So I came as a surprise. But how old are you now?
I am 32.
Good answer. Good answer. I thought you were 92.
No. But I am. There are two parents on the line, not
Yeah.
on the line, but who come now and then to see
Okay.
her.
Okay.
And I have to say, they
You can
come
cut the
right
video,
up
it's
in the
okay.
raid, and
Oh.
so they're going to see everybody.
Oh, good.
It's
Well,
fun to see.
okay, I want to take a picture. So this is a person who has not spoken or recognized or made a statement for over 6 weeks. And she recognized me, and I was able to do what Cheryl did, which was to thank her for the call that she put on my life, for the way that she pioneered and forged the way for me to even go to Chicago. My education was basically paid, but what I learned in assisting her and researching for her, giving papers for her, she never wanted the school to know that she was blind or going blind, because they never thought that they would allow her to really do the program or to forge the program. And so it will be 44 years in June since I saw my first official client. And I told her I was going to do this, and I asked her permission to share. And then, and she said, "Oh, can I come to the meeting?" And so since then, I have set up other students. I put out a call to graduate students from her program that can go and visit her, and they're going to basically do the same thing I did, which was hold her hands and talk in her ear and whatever. But then I wrote to her secretary, who had discouraged me from going, and said, "Look, I couldn't leave Chicago without seeing her." So I went, and they let me see her, and here's the video. So I played the video that you just saw. And she said, "I can't believe you found Fran so lucid. No one has seen her like this. However, after the report she had just a matter of days ago, the blockage she had passed, and she slowly improved. She had been throwing up, and she told me she had stomach problems, and she didn't like being sick. She hasn't talked except for a couple of words for weeks. You were blessed. So glad you didn't listen to me and went to see her anyway."
Absolutely.
And then I played the video, and it said, "Miraculous. She hasn't talked like this for over 6 months, nor has she recognized anyone."
Isn't
So
that amazing?
she is my saint, and I got to tell her in person. And if I don't ever really get to see her again, although I'm committing to sending her cards every week, and her caregiver arrived, and I said, I'm going to be in touch with her. So if you're here when I call or whatever, just know who I am. And I left the administration my card and said, if something happens to her, you got to call me. So it was just Cheryl, it all started after that night. And I just got a bee in my bonnet and thought, if I don't thank her, raise her up, and then she raised up. And Cheryl, when I told Cheryl and Joe, I mean, she's my saint, but I guess I was a gift to her that day as well. And she came alive for those few moments. We prayed together. And then I asked her if she and how I left was I asked her if she remembered what our graduation hymn was. She had graduated from Columbia University in New York and had a fantastic gown and velvet cap and whatever in their in their robes and stuff. But the hymn was "When I Survey the Wondrous Cross." So I sang that That was not on video, but I sang that to her, and I found the version of it that I sang to her, and maybe Joe can play it at the end, but truly it was a gift. It was the highlight of my trip. And I'm so happy that you all did this journey, because it gave me opportunity to really thank her and praise her and admonish her in person.
Well, and Jane Ann, I just so appreciate you sharing. I know you couldn't be with us last week because you were flying back from Chicago, but telling us this story before you got on the plane, we were able to give a few hints to some people. And, you know, I have told that story, I don't know how many times this week. Just the fact that, you know, I will just be fully transparent. Putting Sanctuary Online together takes a lot more than it looks like it does. I know those of you who do podcasts and things like that, you know, there's a lot of time behind the scenes. And when there's a lot to be done, sometimes you wonder, is your time being spent in the right places? And Cheryl, you going to finally see Chaplain Pruitt, you know, you've said that you were going to go over and over and over. Who knows if you'll get to see him again, right? Jane Ann, to be inspired by Cheryl to do this. Cynthia, you have done over the last couple of weeks, your homework has just inspired all of us that you're doing these big rock things, you know, and it's helped us, my friends. I almost start to cry. It's helped us to know that Sanctuary Online is doing the work, that we at Sanctuary want to build this place, you know, so folks can come and experience not only the work, the programming, the conversation, the community, but also the beauty and the sacred space that we have out here. We're progressing on that. Cheryl had meetings with people today, but just thank you. Your stories like this, those are 5-year rule stories, right? You're going to remember that and remember that and remember that. And so it lets us know that the work we're doing has real value here. So Jane Ann, thank you. And yes, I have the song teed up to sing us out tonight. We've had a song or a musician to sing us out every night this week. And so we thought that would be a nice way to do that.
Jane Ann, I really think that you were a saint to her that day. That was really cool. And for the other people that were able to see that, you know, that was pretty amazing. You said they all stood outside the door.
The nurses were coming down the hall and standing in the door. They were like in complete shock that I mean, she was talking in the voice that she was talking, and she drifted off a few times, but I just nodded my head, and then she would ask me, I asked her if she could see me, and she said, yes, you still got red hair. And only I had a perm that was out to here when I was in graduate school. And she said, only it's not curly now, it's straight.
And what a memory, Jane Ann.
Yeah, so she was right back there, but so lucid. And she, you know, she said, oh, why are you still seeing clients? You should be retired like me. And I'm like, well, I tried to retire, but that didn't happen. And so it just, it truly was. And interestingly enough, one of the women at the party for my friend, who was also a student there, said that she always wondered why Fran looked at her sideways, and she was somewhat intimidated by her. And I said, because she could only see out of one eye. But, and then I remembered, oh my gosh, she never wanted anybody to know that she was blind. So anyway, I wrote and said to her, I said, God answered my prayers to see her and to communicate to her, and that she would know me. And I don't know if I told you that I'm part of a Lenten group studying the saints of our lives, people we revered, who made out our paths clear, who forged new paths, who had courage, who were examples to us. And Fran was that for me. In our group, we had prayed that if possible, if alive, that we could reconnect and declare our thanks. It's no coincidence that I was able to do that. So thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane Ann. That's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, been overachievers on your homework this month.
Well, by the way, I am honoring my commitment. I just haven't got it to you yet. But remember, I said I was going to sponsor the month of March.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, so don't, I will do it. It's just past the
I
back,
kind of
but
forgot about
um,
it. Yeah.
it was definitely March Madness and a wonderful month. And so I've learned a lot, and for that, I'm very grateful.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you. Barb, I know that you, when we were talking about this at dinner, I was sharing your story a bit, Jane Ann. And Barb, you said sometime, I know you had a lot of the familiarity with this with your mom, right? How those memories from years and years ago might be that clear with people. You're on mute, Bob. Unmute.
Yep. Grace was having a dream and was chasing a squirrel, and I didn't want to interrupt Jane Ann's story.
Oh, that's so cute.
All the dog owners know that when the dog is laying there and the feet are all going and they're woofing. So yeah, Jane Ann, you know, we share that experience of having a parent with dementia, and you know, a lot of times when she said she was 32, she really was. I mean, that's where she was in, you know, in the moment. And
Stuff that I learned in dealing with my mom who passed in 2020. I used to put the dog up on her chest, and she would talk to the dog as though it was my beagle Buffy dog that I had in grade 4. But I knew she was in there. Like I knew because of the way she couldn't say sentences to me, but she could talk to the dog. And so but I knew if I held her hands and connected and grounded me and her and spoke into her ear, but then she was so connected to me. I really didn't need to do that. When I sang, we both cried. So
I have a
I was gonna ask that
poignant
question,
story.
Barb.
I have a poignant story to tell too about, you know, when my mother was in the memory unit care. I didn't see her often because I lived in Florida at the time, and she was near my sister in Cleveland, Ohio. And so I got up there a couple times a year, and on one visit, I went in, and, you know, she didn't really show many signs of recognizing me, or didn't really talk much. And one of my favorite little tricks was to go through all the photos on my phone, and whether she knew the people or not, you know, it was pretty scenery, or it was somebody doing something funny, or, you know, something, and I could try and engage with her a little bit. But I wasn't getting anything out of her. And so, you know, I didn't stay long, and, you know, left. And the next day when I came back, one of the nurses grabbed me before as I was on my way walking back in. And Mom had a little bit of a salty vocabulary.
Well,
so, I will quote her and ask your forgiveness in advance. The nurse said to me, you know, after you left yesterday, I know you thought she didn't recognize you or anything. After you left yesterday, I was walking past, and she reached out and grabbed my hand and pulled me down to where she could speak to me. And she said, "That was my daughter, and isn't she just so damn beautiful?"
Oh, cool.
So in some ways, all of the folks that took care of my mom there are saints.
Sweet.
But
yeah, thank you.
I have not named the school that I went to, because when I landed there, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was going really to serve her. And but one of the most conservative, almost backward schools I've ever known. Anyway, we joked on that Sunday about breaking the rules, because you were supposed to sign a pledge, and I never did sign the pledge.
Nice.
Long story short, I never signed the pledge of whatever it was. And we just howled, the two of us, because she said, well, I was a rule breaker my whole life. And I said, well, that's why I worked for you, because I was one too. And so anyway, it was lifelike. It was amazing.
Yeah,
enough already. Someone else share.
Yeah, someone else. Thanks, Jane Ann. And thanks,
Yeah.
Barb. Anybody else want to share? And this one of the things I want you to just, I hope you walk from this Lenten journey with is this, the heaviness, the profound ways when we notice when people are folks who shine a light, you know, who open a door for us, who, and sometimes they are big things like this, Jane, and sometimes they are big things, starting you on a career, helping you out with going to school. Sometimes they're the littlest things. Barb, the people who cared for your mom, right? And just doing the mundane and sometimes the even non-enjoyable parts of caring for older folks, right? Or any of us that need care. But those people are saints. That is shining light on. And hopefully one of the things we also have you remember this journey is that that's a beautiful thing to do, right? To notice when you are one that's shining light on another, that you're making a way for someone else. So any other sharing, any other stories out there?
I had a strange experience this week. I have a very dear friend who helped me when I started my business 45 years ago. And we talk, he and his wife live in Florida. I was there when they introduced. I stood up for him at his wedding. And we talk twice a year, Christmas and April 1st, because April 1st is April Fool's Day. And that's Dave's birthday. And I always say, Dave, I call you on, you're my favorite April Fool. So I called him. Usually I call him at night, but this week I called him in the morning and I got no answer. And I knew that he wasn't sick, but I knew he was slowed down considerably. So I thought, it's only 9:30. Where could Dave be by now? Maybe a doctor, I don't know. So I just left a message, which again, he always had the phone right next to him. His wife called back in about an hour and a half, said, I went upstairs to dress, and while you were calling, Dave died. And she said, Cynthia, I think he must, she said, I know how much he loved you. She said, I think he must have just let go because he felt like you were in touch with us again. And since then, by the way, I've long talked with her twice, and I'm trying to say, how can I do some saintly things for Norma? And I've always noticed with people who are going through grief, one of the things that I can do with them when my friend George died, I did this with some of his friends and with Norma. See, I know these people, I know them so well. So I got Norma laughing last night. And I knew that was the best thing I could do for her. Because she said, you gave us, or something about, you gave us that beautiful wedding present. I said, well, your husband told me what to buy. He said, both of us love this Russian crystal and they have it at Marshall Fields. Why don't you go get it? And so I did. She laughed her head off. She had been crying and everything. She said, that's Dave. Oh my goodness. She said, I didn't know he told you what to buy. I said, oh, he did. So, and she's doing better and she's already talked to a brother. They have no children. Brother might move to Florida to be with her in this very large house. But, or she might sell either, but I'm guiding her that way. But and I also liked Dr. Aaron's comment. Darlene and I, when the gay games were in Chicago, I had sent people in my travel office to the gay games all over the world, but I'd never been myself. So I said to Darlene, I want to go to those gay games. And she said, well, call Suzanne Krause. She's somehow involved with them. So I called Suzanne and she said, oh yeah, I have tickets for the opening ceremony. But she said, and I have them right on the 50-yard line at Soldier Field. But she said, I will tell you honestly, Cynthia, I have to be honest with you. And I was glad she was. She said, this is part of my salary. This is a not-for-profit. And this is one of the things they give me to sell, to make herself a little bit of money. I said, honey, whatever you're charging. And I think it was, for the two of us, it was like $1,000. I'll never remember what I paid, but I'll always remember being on the 50-yard line as the bands, and a man from MCC was too ill to walk, so he was in a wheelchair playing his trombone the whole way. And all the athletes from all over the world walk in. The experience is so important that I think that's, life is experience and being there for others as in our own saintly ways. it's just, I think this month has been a great learning experience.
Well,
About
Cynthia,
how,
I have to be honest with you, and Tom has told the story of how much he loved your partner and how talk about rule breakers. So Jane, I mean, come on,
Oh,
rule
gosh,
breakers,
yes.
rule breakers anonymous. Tom was he's told so many stories about how the two of them would sneak off and just giggle and laugh and just cause how do I even say something appropriate?
Well, to give you a quite quick synopsis, not only was Darlene the executive editor at World Book, but in her spare time, she wrote 150 children's books. That's who Darlene was.
Yes.
And in her spare time as a young
150
woman, she
children.
started something with 4 other women. Remember now, 5 women called Women Employed, and they sued all the big corporations. They won 14 million in back pay for women from Sears.
Wow.
And
Wow.
they sued all the big corporations. So
Wow.
yeah, and then she and
Wow.
Tom really had fun. And when the MCC conference was in Chicago, Tom called her Lamps, which is a name for my friend Dave, by the way. He said, "Come on, Lamps, I'm going to show you the suite where Barack Obama and Michelle knew they became president. You know, that the vote was over." And she was so excited, and I thought that was so nice of him, because by then her immobility was minimal. So right now, again, talking about saintly things, Darlene has bequested some money and told me that I didn't have to give it to her relatives until I died, but I want to do it. So her birthday, but an 80th birthday would be Easter. So I have prepared pictures and I've gotten the money out of the bank. And I told my grief counselor 2 or 3 years ago, I said, I just resent that one of those, well, 3 or 4 of the cousins are very homophobic. And I said, I just kept asking her, do you sure you want that? And my counselor said back to me, Darlene is a perfect example of unconditional love. So she said, yes, she does want that. So I'm going to give the check. The checks are going out Monday because Easter would have been her 80th birthday.
Great.
And also I've already put in there that in 1979, she was baptized because they were all so homophobic, and at first religion was very difficult for her, but once she got found MCC, that was it. So Tom and Ken were at the party beforehand, but it will be a glorious Easter because we will be
Yeah.
remembering.
Yeah.
And someone said, aren't you afraid the questions they're going to ask? I said, no, God will give me the answers. I don't
Yeah.
care what they ask me.
Thank
But
you,
yeah,
Cynthia.
she was a phenomenal human being. So
Yeah, we've heard
Anyway.
wonderful stories. Thank you. Thank you. Cheryl, you're going to jump in. I know my saint was trying to get in last week and couldn't quite get in onto the show, but I'm going to give you the nod there and talk about this next saint.
Yeah, I think you're talking about your mom, and that's who I was gonna say
Oh.
that she is a saint to me as well. Because my mom is passed, she has kind of taken on that role of being my mom, and I call her mom. And but she's taught me so much. I mean, I just love being with her all the time. And I miss her so much when I'm not with her. And we laugh together all the time. She makes me laugh. I make her laugh. We say little funny things to each other. We watch a billion Hallmark movies, all the time. If there's nothing else on TV, we sit down. Okay, Mom, let's turn on this Hallmark. Watch Hallmark movies and stuff. She's just fabulous.
You take her away to Dairy Queen.
I take her away to Dairy Queen. We get 2-for-1s. We have to go watch her. The guy that comes and brings her Meals on Wheels, he plays in the band once a week and downtown. And so we go watch him play downtown. And then on the program, they give you 2-for-1 at Dairy Queen. And so we rush off to Dairy Queen and get our 2-for-1 ice cream and so on. So, but the main thing she's done for me is outside. She goes outside every morning and goes out onto the deck, and she remembers her husband. And they just celebrated, or would have celebrated, their 70th anniversary a couple of days ago on the 3rd. Yeah. And but she remembers her husband. She looks at the birds. She listens to the birds. She points them out to me. Cheryl, do you hear that one? That's a such and such bird. Do you hear that one? That's a such and such bird, whatever. and she sees them or whatever. She sits out there. She feeds the chipmunks that come and sit in her hand and eat out of her hand. It's just such a relaxing, restful energy. And it's something that I can really, when I'm there, I really enjoy being with her. And it just helps me to remember this is where you're supposed to be, Cheryl, is in
Yes.
this kind of energy, And so anyway, that, Joe's mom has been very much a saint for me.
That's great.
Oh, I was just trying to get some great mom shots up, but
It's
I'll-
okay, Joe.
I'll share the screen. This is my mom
Nice.
about to take a swig of whiskey, which she does not want to do. But we're out there at our airport. This is an airport my little brother and I own. And because there's a long story behind it, but my dad died on July 4th, and we always go out to the airport and have a big barbecue. And we all partake. There's a long story as to why. And you can see how much she's looking forward to it. But here's the other one, I think. Can you see that one? Hold on here.
Oh,
Not sure. Well, I'm not sure what you can see here. That's her dancing with her sister.
We can see that.
nice.
Can you see that one? I've
We
lost.
did until you stopped sharing.
I this might be a better way to do it.
Aw.
There's my mom and my dad and my sister and I painting the deck that Cheryl's just talking about. Yeah, he's been gone 10 years, and my mom just is. She's just a kick ass. She's keeps on going. Not the best golfer in the family, definitely the best putter in the family. And we try to keep her busy. We try to keep her out doing things like that. And she, as many of you know, is definitely a dog whisperer. All the dogs love mom. And sorry, 1,000 pictures of her.
Nice.
I'll leave it with that one. But Cheryl, someone asked in the chat, Erin, thanks very much. But yes, all of my siblings know that my mom loves Cheryl more than the rest and her own children.
That's cute.
And she just, I pray that I've got all the good genes, She's
And you're right, Erin, she is very present in her life. you know?
Yeah.
So that's what's the thing that I probably need more of.
Mhm.
Well, and I think, as many of us are aging, my mother lives by this schedule. She gets up and everyone knows breakfast at 10, don't call it 10, it's Cheerios and Lucky Charms, and it's all these things. But by that, I think that's why she's continued to go on. She is just seeing the light. She is just keep on doing the thing. And yeah, I'm very blessed. And the interesting thing was none of us knew her until my dad died. My dad had one of those two big personalities, and because it was also not, it was quite a violent upbringing. My mom was in the shadows. And then when my dad passed, she was able to show up right in her own life. And we redecorated the house and everything for her when it became appropriate, and she became. And so the last 10 years, I think we know her better than we've known her the rest of our years combined. So.
Very
You know,
good.
Joe, I said that about my dad. I had 5 months with my dad, and prior to that, everything was about my mom. My mom
Yeah.
was the driving force, the big voice, the extrovert, and my dad was the silent, spirited, calm presence. But in the end, I was so thankful that I had that time alone with him. I talked with him like I had more discussions with him in that 5 months than I had my entire life.
Yep.
Because everything was about mother and taking care of her and the dementia and all that stuff. But I'm so thankful for that 5 months because I got to know him exclusively in a way that I probably never would have. So I consider that a gift. And I would say he's my saint of the men in my life. He was just such a loyal, devoted, as my pastor said, leading from the back. He didn't have to be out front. He could lead he could lead and move people forward from the rear, so to speak, right? So
Yeah.
but
Well, anybody
that's-
else? I want to be aware of our time, but I want to lift up the stories. I think that, you know what, something like we're just chatting about Jane Ann, Dr. Aaron, maybe it's might be something we can do for homework, is to see maybe people whose lights are not necessarily dim, but they're with, you know, their light isn't as bright because of their circumstance or who they're with. I know, you know, Cheryl and I, as an extrovert and introvert, we've dealt with this in many ways, professionally when we work together, and in the church when we work together, or when she's, you know, the very interesting job of being a pastor spouse, you know, to be aware of station and position, and maybe that's something we can do, is make sure we go see folks that maybe the light hasn't been shining on, or haven't had a chance to shine their light as much in this next little bit.
What about Karen and Judy?
Karen, Judy, you guys have any stories?
They're muted.
They are muted.
No, we don't have any stories in particular, but I sure have enjoyed the ones that we heard.
Oh, good.
You two are
Anybody
certainly
else?
special to us. Yeah.
Onetta?
Onetta, you got a story
Okay.
of a saint?
I don't have a story for you tonight, but it has been helpful listening to each, especially the sense of when one walks in the presence of someone who has touched their lives, how you can be, rather than tell them they're not 32, but you can be there where they are and experience the richness. So I'm just blessed being here. Thanks.
Oh,
Awesome.
well, thank you for popping in tonight. We're always open except for next Tuesday. Okay, we're always open on Tuesdays, not next
So noted.
Tuesday. I will encourage you to again mark your calendars and reach out to your friends. This, as we're heading into Holy Week, we're heading into Good Friday, we're heading into Easter, and if you have a friend that maybe would like to come to Seder with you, we just want to keep on expanding, offering, loving, connecting as much as we can. We know that summer is coming, and we also know a lot of folks are often zoomed out, and yet we want to keep on doing what we feel called to do, and that's shine a light out through the internet in as many ways as we can, and bless folks as many ways as we can. As we end, before Jane Ann's song, there is a piece of work we've talked about a couple times from Frederick Buechner, again, the CLM. But I would love, there's 2 slides, 2 halves to this work, but curious if anybody would like to volunteer to give this first one a read and the second one a read out loud. Erin, you want to read up? Well, you read the first
Yeah.
one? Who'd like to read the
Would love
second
to.
one first? Eric, Bud, Dell, Janice?
I'll read.
Hey.
I love to read. Go
You
ahead.
want me to do it?
Yeah.
Was that an Eric?
Okay. Saints are people the light shines through. To be a saint is to be human because we were created to be human.
Eric, we're losing you, my friend.
Rose up.
He's frozen. Dr. Aaron, would you take this first one? And we'll see if Eric comes back, he can read the second page.
Okay, to be a saint is to be,
You're gonna have
I'll
to
give
mute him.
Yes, that's right.
to be a saint is to be human because we were created to be human. To be a saint is to live with courage and self-restraint. But it is more than that. To be a saint is to live not with the hands clenched to grasp, to strike, to hold tight to a life that is always slipping away the more tightly we hold it, but it is to live with the hands stretched out, both to give and to receive with gladness. To be a saint is to work and weep for the broken and suffering of the world, but it is also to be strangely light of heart in the knowledge that there is something greater than the world that mends and renews.
Thanks, Aaron. And the second half, Eric, you want to try again, my friend? We lost you the first time. Or you're frozen again. I'm so sorry, Katie.
Looks like he's still frozen.
Onetta, want to read for us?
Sure. Maybe more than anything else, to be a saint is to know joy, not happiness that comes and goes, but the moments that occasion is. The joy that is always there, like an underground spring, no matter how dark and terrible the night. To be a saint is to be a little out of one's mind, which is a very good thing to be a little out of from time to time. It is to live a life that is always giving itself away, and yet is always full.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I want you to hold those words. I mean, this whole concept of clenching your hands or opening and to give and to receive, right? We encourage you and just pray that you are able, as you walk into this Easter season, that you know that to live a life that is always giving itself away is the way to live a life that is indeed always full. You all have blessed us deeply on this path, on this journey. And Jane Ann, we're gonna close off tonight. This is a song. And
Joe, before you go to the song,
Go
there's
ahead.
a question before you go to the song, there's a question about the author of the poem. Who is the author?
Buechner, but I can't. Frederick Buechner, yeah.
Yeah, Frederick Buechner. Sorry about that. And it's in the name, sorry, his last name is like Buechner, Aaron.
Yeah.
But he does some amazing work. We use him quite a bit in CLM.
His devotional book is amazing.
Yeah.
I have it.
Have that?
Mhm. Just got to remember the title. I'll get it for you. Yes, Frederick Aaron, Dr. Aaron,
Yeah,
Frederick
Buechner.
Buechner.
Yeah. Okay, so theologically, especially on Easter, and as we talk about Seder, we know our theology's range, right? What we believe in, and actually, we hope that we don't all agree. We actually want to build a community that is challenging and that believes in different things, and that, you know, each of our journeys are honored and our beliefs are honored. And then that's the challenging work around creating safe and challenging space for conversation, for community, is that not to agree, but to stay in the same space where disagreement is, and to hold each other in an honoring way. I lift that up because Jane Ann, you sang this song. This song was from years ago. I don't know about you, but my theology has certainly, in seminary, we used to write a paper and we would sign it, date it, and put the timestamp on it. Because we knew that if you went and had coffee with someone else that night after you wrote a paper, your theology could completely change on something, because it should be evolving and growing and organic and changing, growing just like God grows. And so the song we're going to put up, it's called When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. It's a contemporary version that Jane Ann found. Jane Ann, we're honoring you because of the homework you've done, love, because of how you changed, again, Dr. Fran's life and how she changed yours. So theologically, you may not resonate with this. Enjoy the beauty, enjoy the melody, enjoy the song, and Jane Ann.
And enjoy the memories, because I remember it.
Yes.
I remember it too.
And that's it, Jane, Cheryl, let the memories, so much of my joy is not necessarily from the words, but from the feelings.
Yeah.
And sometimes hearing a song can evoke great memories, whether or not you agree with the lyrics of that song anymore. So I would just have you open your heart.
Well,
love
that
yourself.
she connected with this
Music.
song made it important for me to honor her in that. Because
100%.
she was memorized, that was from 1977. Oh my,
She was
I'm
30.
dating myself. Oh my God.
All right, my
But
friends. So sign off with the song, listen to the song. However, have a blessed, blessed continuation of your journey into Lent and through Lent. And we'll hopefully see you here in 2 weeks. Love you much. This is all set for sound. Gonna make sure, Jane Ann. Can you guys see my screen there?
Can see your dog laying in the ice.
Yes.
Well, there might be some pictures that you enjoy then as I play this.
When I survey
Hear it? Yes, no? Somebody? Thank you.
the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and poor content on all my pride. Forbidden, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. See from his head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did e'er such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Were the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small. Love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, demands my soul. Love demands my soul, my life, my all.
Thanks, Joe.
Jane Ann, thank you. Thank you for your stories, my friends. Thank you for being with us this year at the Sanctuary Lenten Journey. And just blessings on your way. Shine your light.
Aaron, I'll get you the name of the Fred Boykner book. It's on my shelf. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. Thank
Thanks,
you,
Marianne.
Joe, for.
Blessings, y'all. Love you very much.
Blessings. Love you.
Night,
Yeah,
night, y'all.
thank you.
Thank
Night, night.
you.
See you in a couple of weeks.
In a couple weeks,
Yeah.
Janice.